At rung 1 of a money launderer, you make $200 a week. At rung 5, you can move money that throws off $200,000 in a day. Half the people who try to climb past rung 2 do not see rung 3. Look, this ladder is not every accountant, cashier, or small business owner who files bad books once. This is the underground ladder for washing criminal proceeds. 5 rungs: entry, lieutenant, operator, middle management, top. Year 5 is the question. Death, prison, exit, or promotion. You are here if your job is to make dirty money look ordinary without ever truly making it clean. You are not moving product. You are moving suspicion around. The rungs above own the profit. The rungs below absorb the noise. Families absorb the rest. At rung 1, you think you are learning finance. You are really a courier with paperwork. Pay runs about $200 to $2,000 a week. Lifestyle is visible and cheap. You use your own car, your own face, your own bad excuses. The risk is arrest first. The typical rung 1 person is 18 to 24, recruited by a cousin, girlfriend, poker friend, or small business owner already compromised. You sign forms, carry deposits, collect mail, front your name, maybe open an account. Victim cost starts here. Fraud victims lose savings. Families lose rent money when you vanish. One court file version, in the Western Express International case, tied to drug proceeds. Low-level workers structured deposits in small amounts across branches and states. The bosses insulated themselves. The workers took the first charges. Typical sentence here is 12 to 36 months. Body count is low directly, but the money often traces back to overdose deaths or extortion. At rung 2, you think you got promoted into trust. You are really an exposure surface with keys. Pay jumps to roughly $5,000 to $20,000 a month. Lifestyle changes fast. Burner phones rotate. Counts happen at kitchen tables. You start watching windows in parking lots. The typical lieutenant is 22 to 30, usually one prior arrest, one probation scare, or one close friend already sitting downstate. Your risk is the first wiretap, the first mules talking, the first person under you shaving money. Family loss gets heavier. A car gets repoed. A lease breaks. A child sees visitation glass. Court documented example. In the HSBC deferred prosecution record, lower and mid-level compliance failures and laundering channels tied to cartel money move through systems bigger than any one clerk. On criminal street versions of that rung, supervisors copied the same logic in miniature. Typical sentence is 3 to 7 years. Year 5 often means prison or a scared exit. Rung 3 is operator territory. Now you think you run a business. The truth is you run a liability with overhead. Pay can hit $50,000 to $200,000 a month. Lifestyle gets quieter. A front company appears. A lawyer gets retained. Your spouse knows there is money. Not why. The typical operator is 30 to 45 and insulated by layers of names, leases, and obedient people. Risk becomes federal conspiracy, tax counts, wire fraud, bank fraud, or RICO, depending on the pipeline. Victim cost multiplies. Scam losses, drug profits, trafficking proceeds, bribe money. All of it needs your desk. One specific story. In the 1MDB prosecutions, laundering networks pushed billions through shell companies, nominee accounts, luxury assets, and professional enablers across borders. Different scale, same rung logic. Somebody below handled signatures. Somebody above smiled in public. Typical sentence for a domestic operator is 7 to 15 years, plus forfeiture that empties the house. Rung 4 is the title people picture when they say money launderer. Pay sits around $500,000 to $5 million a year. Not flashy. Real estate sits in 3 names. The child is in private school under a softer surname. You are trusted because you know where too many records sleep. The typical person here is 35 to 55. You sit between violent earners and polished professionals. By rung 4, the math doesn't work anymore. You are too big to disappear cheaply and too exposed to retire cleanly. Sentence length, if convicted, is often 10 to 20 years. Family loses homes, tuition, legal retainers, and ordinary last names. Court file example. In the Wachovia deferred prosecution matter, the bank admitted failures connected to billions in suspicious transfers linked to Mexican currency exchange houses moving drug money. At the street and regional version of this rung, one fixer coordinates fronts, couriers, bookkeepers, and attorneys. Body count is indirect but ugly. The cash being washed may sit on top of dozens of murders. Rung 5 is the top, the principal, the person outsiders call the mastermind. And the kingpin is the most boring person in the operation. Pay over a career can reach 20 million to 2 billion on paper. Liquidity is the problem. Frozen accounts, seized assets, legal bills, security costs, and hidden partners eat first. Lifestyle at the top is gated, watched, and lonely. You move through boardrooms, compounds, villas, armored SUVs, or anonymous offices with one lamp left on. The typical person is 40 plus and in for life, unless they choose exit early. Year 5 narrows hard here. Death, prison, witness protection, foreign anonymity, or a very quiet retirement. Specific story. Paul Manafort was convicted in part for hiding income through offshore structures and false statements around foreign consulting proceeds. Different source money than cartel cash. Same principle at the top rung. Documents everywhere. Panic in tailored clothing. Typical sentence can be 15 years to life when laundering attaches to wider conspiracies. Families lose estates, inheritances, reputations, and the ability to answer simple questions. Now the victim cost, because this latter flatters itself by staying bloodless on paper. A money launderer can say he never touched the gun, the pills, the coercion, the hacked account, the stolen pension. Fine. He touched the proceeds. He kept the machine liquid. Body count varies by source crime, from 0 direct killings and fraud rings to triple digits when cartel and trafficking money runs through the books. The family math is plain. At rung 1, they lose your wages and your name on a lease. At rung 2, they lose sleep and stability. At rung 3, they lose the story they told themselves about where money came from. At rung 4, they lose property under forfeiture. At rung 5, they lose privacy forever, then maybe lose you. What years around this ladder taught me is simple. The operator to victim ratio is obscene. One person at the table can service thousands of harmed strangers. Year 5 still resolves the same 4 ways: death, prison, exit, promotion, and top rung income is mostly notional once lawyers, security, mistakes, and confiscation take their share. Climb carefully. Every rung pays. And every rung charges. Most rungs end somewhere you wouldn't visit on purpose. Which rung is just a worse version of a legal job you've had? Be honest.